Welcome along to Trip Notes. It's a New Zealand Herald travel podcast brought to you by the lovely Stephanie Holmes, Deputy Editor of New Zealand Herald Travel.
Hi, Tim.
And myself, Tim Roxburgh. Fumbling my words already, that's fine. And today, our very special guest, Lorna Subritzky, host of The Day Show on Coast, and a very well-travelled person, so much so that, isn't it your Instagram handle, Lorna the Explorer?
It is Lorna the Explorer, which I only dreamt up last year, and I thought I was terribly amusing when I dreamt it up, and it's just kind of stuck.
Yeah, good on you. Well, great to have you with us. We're going to get to our destination of the week towards the end of the podcast, and there's a rumour, I think it's an alarming rumour, that you've been to this particular place, is it 14 times you were saying?
That's what I heard, yeah.
I think it's 14. I actually couldn't tell you without sitting down and actually working it out, but it's around about 14 times, yeah.
It's got to be good.
Yeah, you'd hope it's good if you've gone to this place.
No, it's terrible. I keep going back to check whether or not it's as terrible as I remember.
14 times. And the one little fun fact, just to keep us going, to keep us guessing.
He loves the teas.
I do love the teas. This place is 2/3 the size of Waiheke Island.
What?
So it's smaller, unless I've got the wrong destination. No, I'm certain this is right. It's smaller than Waiheke.
Wow.
But it attracts tourists from all over the world. So
It certainly does.
I mean, as does Waiheke. But
as does Waiheke, you're right. So that's soon. But let's crack into things and find out a little bit about your love of travel.
Yeah. Where do you think it first started? Is there a moment you can pinpoint back?
Actually, I'm a really late bloomer. I immigrated to New Zealand when I was 6, and I was 19 before I took my first overseas journey, which was to Perth. I went and spent my university holidays there, 3 months there, and worked for a while. And then I've been to a few places over the years, and had a family and taken them places. But it really wasn't until, dare I say it, I turned 50 that I suddenly thought, right, life's passing me by. I've got to start seeing a bit more of the world. So Lorna the Explorer was born, and I've gone a little bit crazy since I turned 50. I also had a terrible fear of flying. It didn't prevent me going anywhere, but it was certainly a factor, particularly with long journeys. But the more travel I've done, funnily enough, the less scared I've become about flying. And now I actually, dare I say it, love the plane journey.
Yeah.
Tell us about the fear.
Yeah. Did you have to do any courses to get over it? Or
it wasn't a fear of flying per se. It's I have vertigo. So it's more a fear of falling than a fear of flying. So I'm happy with flying, but and takeoffs and landings, all those dangerous bits, fine.
Yeah.
It's the bouncing up and down. My husband's a pilot and has his own aeroplane, and it took me years to go up in it because little aeroplanes bounce around even more than big airplanes. So I just don't like that sensation of the stomach dropping.
No, I don't think anyone does. And
I don't know. My husband loves it. Yeah, roller coaster.
Maybe a pilot. And there's no, I think for me, there's no getting around it. Someone can explain to me exactly what it is and why it happens, but it's still a horrible feeling.
Exactly. But now I actually kind of enjoy it, and not so much the turbulence. Flying through lightning storms, not great fun, but it's a small price to pay for the amazing places you can see. So.
Yeah.
Does that mean you're a clapper when you land?
No. No, I'm not.
I think that's only on Ryanair flights. And only if they arrive on time as well, because they play that little jingle.
No, nor am I a
claps.
rosary bead holder, but I have sat next to rosary bead holders. Yeah. But no, I'm just a person who just goes,
yeah,
cool.
Have you ever been on any flights with awful, really terrible turbulence? Or
yeah, I had a pretty bad flight back from Hawaii once where we went through a really big lightning storm, and that was pretty scary. It reminded me of a Stephen King movie. I think there is a Stephen King movie with lightning in the planes and things. But the worst landing I ever had was right here in New Zealand, in Wellington, surprise,
yeah, that doesn't
where we
surprise
landed
me.
kind of sideways on the runway. But
that always gets me with royal visits. They land in Wellington, and it's like Kate Middleton and the hair's sideways, and you just think, oh no, this. I mean, I love Wellington, but it can be such a scary landing.
And of course, we all travel with our own personal hairdressers, just like Kate. Right. So
yeah, I wish one day, yeah. So what was it like when you did your first trip by yourself? How did you feel?
The one to Perth when I was 19, I was exhilarated. I mean, it was a lot of money back then. In fact, I think it's still the same price to fly to Perth return. It was a long way to go, but I was just so excited. It was my first step of independence. I did go with a girlfriend, so, we had each other to sort of see us through. She was a bit more well-travelled than I was, being half Canadian, so she'd gone home quite a bit. But no, it was a great thing. And I know there's not much of a cultural difference between New Zealand and Australia, but I absolutely loved it. And that was the first place I went to. And it's happened many, many times over the years where I've gone, I love this place so much, I'm coming back. In fact, I decided I was going to come home, finish my degree, and then head over there to live. But, as always with these plans, never came to fruition.
Yeah. What did you love most about it then?
I thought it was this sounds so bad for a 19-year-old. It's such a well-designed city. I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere, and yet the transport system was incredible. This is before we had much of an integrated transport system here. The greenery, considering, it's so well irrigated. Oh my God, I sound like such an old person. But no, really, really amazing.
The irrigation.
Yeah, but no, I also love the contrast. You've got those incredible beaches. And then you've got, the Margaret River region so close to Perth. I went up to Kalgoorlie. There's an eye-opener for a 19-year-old, fairly innocent girl.
What's it like?
It's a gold mining town.
Right.
It's quite there's a few rough men and a few quite rough ladies there. It was definitely an eye-opener. And then I also got up to Launceston, which is where they have the World Surf Champs from time to time. And that was pretty incredible. Went to a very, very good party there, but that's a story for another time.
So 19, you're in Perth, and then 50, you started doing lots of travel.
Yeah.
In the 30 years in between, did you go anywhere at all?
In between, yeah, but lots of those sort of trips that you do that are quite safe. Lots of Australia trips, the Australian cities, Sydney, Melbourne. Got to Hawaii. I did actually win a trip to Italy when I was about 35, I think. Through an American Express competition, Westfield Mall, I don't know. Stick a thing in the thing, stick your receipt in a barrel, and they picked me out. So I spent a week in Rome and a week in Positano on the Amalfi Coast, and it was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Business class too, so it ruined me.
Me. That's good, because once I won a trip to Edinburgh from New Zealand, and the way I won it was there was this website called datahotscot.com, and you
Stephanie.
And you had to go on there, and there were like 12 different Scottish bachelors allegedly, and you had to pick which one was your favourite. So I did that, not thinking anything of it, and then a few weeks later I got this email to say, you've won a trip to Scotland.
Did you get to meet your bachelor guy?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a date, just me and him. It was there was a lot of them there, and also women from countries all around the world. Right. So it was a bit crazy, but it was a 3-day trip. So I went to Edinburgh for 3 days. I think I was on a plane for longer than I was actually.
That's a bit rough, isn't it? That's pretty tough.
I don't regret it. We got to have dinner at Edinburgh Castle, so that was pretty amazing. But yeah,
what an experience.
What's that like?
It was so beautiful. Yeah, it's incredible.
I'm half Scottish, but I haven't been back to Scotland since I was a wee girl. Yeah. So, yeah, that would be pretty amazing.
There you go. Have a look at datahotscot.com. It might still be going.
Yeah,
Okay, so before we get to the destination of the week, and we're going to get to our travel bug segment in a moment, but just any other exciting places that you've been since you really became Lorna the Explorer?
Well, I had an amazing 3 months last year where I went to Nepal. First of all, with the leprosy mission, and that was incredible.
Wow!
I did a 2-day trek in the foothills of the Himalayas, for which I did absolutely no preparation. And my dad, who at 80 still exercises every day, was horrified. He's like, "You won't be able to do it." And I just thought, how bad can it be? One step in front of another. And it was about 32 k's over a couple of days, and it was amazing. I really, really enjoyed it, and I wasn't too bad afterwards. So. My dad's still amazed about that. So in Nepal, that was an incredible experience that really taught me to value everything we have here in New Zealand. My first sight when I got to Nepal was to see a leprosy sufferer he couldn't walk. His arms were all deformed. He was rolling along this dusty road and pushing his begging bowl in front of him. And I just thought, oh my God, that man woke up yesterday and was doing that. He's woken up today, he's doing this. Tomorrow he's going to be doing the same thing. His life is this forever. And here we are complaining about, my Wi-Fi is dropping out. That was a real eye-opener for me. And in the next few weeks after I got back from Nepal, I went to tropical North Queensland, which is, quite a cool place in itself. Just, you can't swim in those beautiful beaches,
it's crazy.
The crocodile thing was a little bit... Oh, well, we went to a crocodile park thing. I fed them, and they're quite frightening.
They terrify me.
They are pretty
sharks,
terrifying. They can run as fast as a racehorse.
Is that right?
But only up to 10 or 15 metres. So that's why you have to stay that far back from the sea.
Yeah.
Because they can come and get you if you're close. But if you're further back, they just run out of steam.
Isn't there a place near Darwin where it's the tourist operation and the crocs jump out of the water? And the tourists, but apparently the crocs are jumping higher and higher and higher.
They're evolving. There is going to come a time, I tell you. So that was pretty amazing. Then we had a family trip to Fiji, and then within 2 months after that, I had my first and only ever trip to France, which was absolutely amazing.
Which you wrote about
thanks
for us.
to Herald Travel. It was
incredible
travelling up the Rhone River, actually, from Avignon to Lyon. It was just, sensational. Really, really loved that trip. So that was turn 50 and then bang, bang, bang. And all these, that was a luxury cruise. And then compared to Nepal 3 months earlier, it was really chalk and cheese.
That must have been such a challenge and quite confronting, that trip. Did you struggle with any of it?
I was pretty nervous before I went. Forgot to get all my vaccinations, so I went completely unvaccinated. It wasn't the leprosy that worried me, because I know that is, although it's quite easily transmitted in poorer, when people are poverty stricken, it is an immune deficiency disease. So, we have good immune systems here. So that didn't bother me so much. And I didn't get sick. The food was amazing. But it was pretty confronting. Like I say, we went to a leper colony, and they call it leper colonies. I know that sounds very biblical and old fashioned, but they call them that. But it was actually incredibly uplifting. And one thing it taught me is that, people are people. It doesn't matter whether your clothes are different, your language is different, your customs are different, your religion is different, your colour is different, whatever. People are people. There was one woman I met there. She couldn't speak a word of English, and obviously I don't speak Nepalese. But she told me her story, and it was heartbreaking. And we sat there holding hands and crying. I'll probably start crying thinking about it now. But she was able to get across the terrible life that she had had and how grateful she was for the treatment that she was now getting without speaking a word. It was actually quite amazing.
And that would have made your luxury trips even more valuable, because you've seen all this poverty and how hard things.
And I'd love to think I'd be that sort of person going, oh no, I couldn't possibly live in that luxury when I've seen the other side. But no, I lived in that luxury, and it was amazing.
Yeah, you got to take it when it's offered to you.
Yeah. But do you think? I always think that in life we actually, it's not like you learn a lesson and then that's it. Like sometimes you need to learn the lesson and then keep learning the lesson. As in being grateful and being humble. It's not something you learn once. And I think I've seen similar things. Where someone is heavily deformed and kind of dragging themselves along the ground begging, and it floors you. It stops you in your tracks, doesn't it? But
absolutely.
Then you go back to your normal life.
But it's lessons you can bring back to your normal life. I mean, my daughter, she's 10. She's been campaigning to get a cell phone because, doesn't every 10-year-old need a cell phone? And so I just remind her about the little girls that I met in Nepal who actually didn't have leprosy, but sometimes their parents had leprosy or their grandparents had leprosy. And their lives, basically, that meant they couldn't get an education in many circumstances. They certainly couldn't get a job, and they could not marry. The stigma of leprosy is that bad that these little girls, gorgeous wee things, had no future. If you don't marry, you've got no future in Nepal. And they literally didn't because of that stigma. So, the cell phone request stopped for a little while.
Yeah, I was going to say, does she get it, or is she still like, Mum?
No, she did get it. She did get it. She was quite fascinated by it, but she didn't see it firsthand. So, we're back to the cell phone.
Yeah. What an amazing experience.
All right, let's get to the travel bug section of the podcast. So this is a weekly column I do in the Herald, and the joys of moaning about your holiday. So we thought we'd do bizarre things that you've seen on a plane. And it could be people's bizarre behaviour or just really odd things that you've gone, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've just seen that. So, I mean, getting the ball rolling, I think one that is so annoying when you see it, but the sneaky foot that comes through when you're on the plane and the person behind you's foot has just emerged through the gap between the seats.
Sorry, you
No, I was going to say I have seen somebody cutting their toenails.
Oh, no, you haven't.
I have on an aeroplane.
That makes me
It was a regional airline, and again flying into Nepal, but it was
How long was this flight?
Oh gosh, it was about 3 hours.
Okay.
I
don't know why that was my first question, but I was thinking, if it's like a 30-minute flight, you could have waited till you got off. I mean, even 3 hours, your toenails.
But maybe they suddenly realised they were
wait?
seeing Mum again. They look down at the jandals, see that the nails are a bit long, and go for it. But
I've never seen anything that bad. But I was just looking at the passenger shaming Instagram account. I don't know if you've ever had a look at that, on there, so these are people, on a plane, and they take a picture of someone doing something awful on a plane and shaming them as as they should. But yeah, there's a lot of bare feet on that account. So if you're a bit squeamish about feet, don't look at it. But
the other thing I saw that I didn't need to see, and they were doing it quite discreetly, and it's really my fault for just being nosy, but I was on a flight coming home earlier this year, and there was a couple who, it turned out she was an Air New Zealand air hostess on her holiday, I guess, with her boyfriend. And so they'd gone standby. So when they got on board the plane, they were separated because it was a pretty full flight. So she was in front of me, he was a few rows back. And there's, the seat-to-seat messaging. And apparently you can sext at altitude. And it was, I was like, oh, okay. You know how they warn you, like, be careful what you screen movie-wise because there could be children watching. Well, be careful what you type because it was,
wow.
that was.
But they had a good time. And
apparently they had a very good time and it passed my time as well. It was really quite entertaining. My biggest bugbear on planes, though, it's not specific, but that is man-spreading. I'm sorry, Tim.
Yeah.
Probably women do it as well, but that need to, knees out this way and arms out this way. And I think it's etiquette. If you are in the middle seat,
you get the armrest.
Yeah. I kind of
both of them.
But I have been on flights where there have been men on either side of me. I've been in the middle and they're both using both the armrests and I'm squeezed in. Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely should be the policy. If you are in the middle seat,
I think so.
then
It's an unspoken rule.
What about reclining? Where do we sit on the recline or not recline issue?
Never recline.
Never, ever.
No, I think if it's
what about
long
on a
haul, I think if it's long haul
flight?
and the lights go out, all bets are off.
No, I have a reason. It's not just being a good guy. It's
a
that
stupid guy. 17 hours. You're not going to recline your seat. Come on.
You're always up in the business class, Timmy. Us back in cattle class.
No, I snore, and so that if I'm reclining about that much, then the snoring really gets going. So what I hope is that the seat is. I mean, I might do the tiniest recline, just so that my head's not going to fall forward. But generally, if the seat is good, it doesn't need any movement. But just as long as my head's not falling forward. Otherwise, if I'm too far back,
I have the answer for you. I bought, through a Kickstarter campaign, before it had even been developed, the most amazing travel pillow, which kind of looks like a toilet seat lid, if you can imagine, like that. So you've got your main bit, and then this other bit comes up, and you can like recline your head that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you can attach it to the seat in front and forward face plant if you want to, like a massage table.
A good travel pillow is key.
It's a little bit weird to see people doing that, but it is brilliant on a long haul
I think
flight.
you just have to just get over whether you look cool or not on a plane. Like, it's all about comfort, especially on a 17-hour flight. But that goes to a point. On this passenger shaming thing, I've seen pictures of people lying on the floor.
Oh, yeah, I know. Do they not know what's on the floor?
And like half clothed, like just in their kind of shorts and taking shirts off and things. Like, just kick back. It's fine. But
some flights. There was one I was going into Trivandrum, which is a city in southern India, and that flight, no one was in the right seat. And it was as if no one had ever flown before. and we're flying from Singapore into Trivandrum and trying to get off the ground in Singapore. No one's in their right seat. And then when we're landing, everyone had undone their seat belts, like
already hauling out the cabin bags.
Like, why have you never flown before? But anyway, that's good fun.
I don't think I've seen anything really crazy on a flight, but one thing that's happened to me a couple of times is being sat next to a screaming baby. And I know that, this is what children do on planes, and I feel bad for them and I feel bad for their parents. But this one flight I went on, and luckily it was only Wellington to Auckland, I was quite hungover, so it probably didn't help the situation. But there was a family, a husband and wife and 2 kids, and so 3 of them were sat in the row of 3 behind me, and then they'd put their smallest child next to me in the window seat because they obviously wanted both their children to have a window seat. But that meant that I was kind of looking after their baby for the hour and a half. I was so outraged.
Unaccustomed as you are, and hungover though you were.
I just wanted to have a nap. And then this poor little girl who obviously she didn't want me looking after her either, but
I've got a little bit of schadenfreude. I think that's quite funny. I would never, ever, ever do anything like that, and shame on those people, but it does paint rather an amusing picture.
Destination of the week, let's do it. You love this place so much. You've been there 14 times.
I know, and people go, why? Why do you keep going back to this place? It's not like I don't go anywhere else, but the great Kiwi tradition is to go to a batch. I don't have a batch. And for me, this is like going to the batch. It's 3 hours away, 3.5 hours away.
We haven't actually said where it is
yet. And I
yet.
actually love it. It is, well, probably people have guessed by now, it's Rarotonga. I absolutely adore Rarotonga. And it's been the place where quite a few life-changing things have happened. You probably both know I've been married twice, and both proposals happened in Rarotonga. I found out...
Did the second guy know that the first proposal was also there?
I think he did.
Well, he does now.
Sorry, Steve, not very original. Absolutely lovely. We found out we were having our surprise baby, and I really mean surprise baby, in Rarotonga. That was a shock. The old Trader Jack's pregnancy test, always a goodie. And we got married there, Steve and I. We had just our parents and our children there, and it was really, really cool. And so, been there 14 times, been to Aitutaki twice, because if there's one step up from Rarotonga, it is Aitutaki. But why? Well, it's just so easy. It literally is like going to the family batch. They know you there. You step off the plane, you're on the beach within half an hour. There's Kiwi currency. They're great. There's great stuff for kids to do. The lagoon is amazing. Now, you go to Denarau, you can't step out of your hotel and jump into the water. But in Rarotonga, you do. In fact, the first few times I took my older children there, they didn't use the hotel pool at all. They were just in the sea
the water
the entire time. And it's safe. It's safe water for kids. It's sort of knee deep and absolutely beautiful. So we love it. And they really remember you. Like, I was there when I was pregnant with Zoe. And then Steve and I snuck back and just had a couples-only holiday a year later. And Mossy, who was our lovely, lovely man at the resort, took one look at me and went, "Where's your baby? How dare you come back without your baby?" It was pretty funny.
So do you stay in the same place every time?
Kind of. When we go with the kids, we tend to stay at the Rarotongan just because it's a good family resort. They really cater for kids there. When we're by ourselves, we tend to stay at adult-only resorts. So,
fair enough.
There aren't children around. I mean, that's the purpose, really, isn't it? And we've tried some other places. We've done a couple of little cheap package deals on the spur of the moment where you can whip over there and stay. But it's always a bit disappointing. I kind of like the Rarotongan. And like I say, they know us there.
Yeah.
And what do you do when you're there?
We swim. We sleep. I read. I don't get to read much when I'm home, so it's when I catch up on my reading. There's treks. There's there's quad bike adventures you can take and horse riding things if you like. The last time we went was in the school holidays, and our wee one Zoe got to take her best friend. So we really had a very relaxing holiday, but we played a lot of mini golf, which I haven't done on previous excursions to Rarotonga, so that was good. Fishing, snorkeling, church services, they are absolutely amazing. Remember to take something to cover up your shoulders, ladies. And the snorkeling is superb as well. You can literally, again, walk out of your room, onto the beach, into the lagoon, and be swimming amongst the fish, beautiful fish.
Because I haven't been there, but both of you have been there.
I've been there 3 times, actually.
What are
game,
those?
Stephanie, up your game.
I need to catch up, yeah.
3 times.
What an amateur.
But what are those church services like?
I went to one, and it is beautiful. The singing is unbelievable, so beautiful. But we made a bit of a rookie mistake, and we had got there, and it was some special kind of service where they were raising money for the local community, the youth in the community. So it was going to be an extended service.
Oh,
that was
and you were at the
going
front
to go on for about 4 hours, I think. It was really hot.
An hour's good.
And
lovely.
we didn't want to offend anyone, but it was so hot in there. I honestly thought I was going to pass out. So we had to kind of sneak out and get out. And when we did get outside, this beautiful old man was standing outside, and he said, "Oh, we're having a feast down the road. Come to the feast." And it's very rude to refuse, but I did refuse. I'm sorry. I'm revealing a lot about myself in this podcast.
No, that's
to
fine.
be careful.
Fascinating.
Have you been to Memphis, either of you? Because
no.
So Al Green, the great soul singer Al Green,
Reverend Al Green.
Reverend Al Green. So he's got a church in Memphis, and so soul fans, music fans who might otherwise not go to church, go to his service. But he calls out the tourists who leave after just a few minutes after they've got their photos. So there's the Reverend Al Green, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, it's Al Green, get the photos," and then
leave.
I'll just sneak out, and he will say, "Hey, you," and he makes them sit down and listen to the whole sermon.
Out by anybody. Yeah. Terrible confession. Can I make a travel confession? Lorna the Explorer has never been to mainland USA.
Wow.
I know, gasps. There's just
do you
always,
want to go?
I do. My husband keeps going, let's go to LA. There are so many other places I want to go. And
Rarotonga.
well, there is that, but that's a bit sort of quicker and cheaper, and we can take the kids there.
Yeah.
But we are possibly going to celebrate a friend's 50th in Las Vegas and various other places shortly, so I may change that. But yeah, isn't that terrible?
No, it's not terrible.
It's kind of a bit weird, though, I think.
Well, I don't know. Is it, though? I mean...
Look, this is early days for you.
Yeah, well, that's right. I'm just getting started. I'm
you
not a baby boomer. I've just missed out on that. But I read somewhere yesterday that baby boomers are the big travel thing right now.
Absolutely.
So I've got plenty of time
Yeah.
to spend the kids' inheritance and see a bit more of the world.
Look, it'll open your mind going to the States as well, because I think if you haven't been, then you have a certain idea of what it is, but it's so massive.
Well, the problem is it's so different.
Yeah.
That's right. So where would you go? You'd have to go to basically every state to really say that you know America, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Can you believe that is pretty much all the time we've got? You wouldn't read about it.
But you can read about it.
You can.
See, this is why Lorna's such a professional.
That's right.
In Herald Travel.
But yeah, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Yeah, wonderful to have you on the podcast, and keep on exploring, and yeah, we'll talk to you some more, absolutely.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming along.
And if you have enjoyed the podcast, then what do you need to do? You need to subscribe.
You can subscribe. We are at all the major podcast apps, and we would love you to subscribe. We'd also love if people left us a review, and it helps other people to find us, which is great. But also, we'd love to know where you're traveling and where you'd like to go, and any destinations of the week you'd like us to talk about in future.
I want to know what else to put on my bucket list.
Yeah.
I saw your mum had left a review.
Yeah. Thanks, Mum. I know. She's my biggest fan.
Yeah, my wife left a review.
Oh, good. I have to get my husband onto it now.
Yeah, and maybe you can do a review too.
Maybe I could.
Yeah, that's
My favourite episode was the one with Lorna Subritzky.
All right. Thanks so much.